So if I just click, I think that the theme of the webinar is going to be this quote here: good decisions need the right information at the right time. So flooding, particularly now, is all about planning and having a strong sense of data management and asset management, and knowing where your assets are, where the problems might be, and getting there before the incident can occur. So in short, I think the software that I'm going to be talking about today hopefully will allow you to centralize your flood asset data. It will allow you to assign asset inspections, update inspections, the quality of the assets. We also provide case management methods for managing your workflows and for managers to see what's going on regarding your assets, and also therefore an auditing option. There's a GIS integration, so we can do data visualization, and to help your workflows, it makes things much more efficient. There's also automated environmental reporting to save you time and to reduce errors, and also we have mobile applications. So for field inspections, you can update live, and you can retrieve information about your assets when you're out on site using some mobile devices. And again, the case management side also allows you to manage planning applications that you might have from your other side of your daily responsibilities. So a quick overview. As I said, we'll talk about who we are, STM Environmental, why you might need, and what it can do for you, the flood risk management system, what the system is, and then why choose the system that STM are offering. So we are STM Environmental Consultants, as I said, a small independent company. We're based down in southwest London. We work mainly with local authorities, and we offer environmental software solutions and data management. We also provide some private sector consulting as well, from contaminated land to flood risk. So we have some experience of that side of the business as well. So the software offers a range of applications, from the GIS and reporting to the case management and the asset management side of things. And as I said, we work with local authorities. I think we're working with about 80 plus local authorities in the UK now, predominantly on the contaminated land side, and the case management of their contaminated land, but also I think 10 plus local lead flood authorities, including Cambridge, Essex, Kent, Caerphilly. So we're kind of predominantly on the contaminated side, but doing very well in that respect. But also we've got some international clients, predominantly in Denmark. 95% of local authorities there are using the GeoEnviron system for all their data management and other regions in the world. So why might you need a flood or asset management system? I think the primary requirement is a method for centralizing your assets into a register that can be seen and inspected by all your colleagues in one location, easy to access, and I guess centralize, essentially. So you have a requirement to maintain a registry of assets after the PIT review as a local lead flood authority, and the management system, as I said, allows you to collate your information in a very effective way. I guess the opposite of having a sort of management system would be to use a GIS and Excel spreadsheets, which over time will become quite inefficient and difficult to manage as the numbers of assets grow. We're talking thousands of assets in some cases for some of our authorities, so that's clearly going to become difficult to manage, but also difficult to then analyse. So the asset management system not only provides you a centralized method for storing all your data information, but also then allows you to analyze that information, schedule inspections more efficiently and effectively, minimizing errors, saving time, but also you can manage your planning work and any SUDS work as well, and consent applications. It also allows you to administer inspections from there, so you can also do everything from a sort of centralized location. I think this is kind of going to stress that point really. There's information from a variety of sources. You might currently have this information on a number of different formats in folders or spreadsheets, and the system allows you to manage that into a database. Then you can effectively respond to emergencies, inquiries. You can manage your flood strategy using that information effectively, particularly with the GIS integration, so you can visualize that information and develop your plans for inspections, or your kind of proactive or reactive side very effectively. So what is the Flood Risk Management System, STM? It's a Microsoft SQL Server backed database that links to GIS. The system supports a range of GIS. We obviously, the usual ArcMap, MapInfo, but also GGP and CAD Corp, and soon to be QGIS. But also the system combines an asset registry, as I said, through the database, but also there's a mobile solution, as I alluded to at the start, so you can do field inspections and update, but also retrieve information in the field to see when we last inspected, what the condition was of that asset, who might own that asset in the field, and other documents that might be linked to that asset. You can retrieve that information. There's also the report writing tool called MapEagle, which allows you to make automated, customizable environmental search reports. You may well want to use those for internal documentation if you want to produce a quick summary of that, the environmental conditions or geoenvironmental conditions for that asset, or potentially, as some people do, some local authorities produce environmental searches for their for clients, or potentially to charge for those. So, but it's a modular-based system that, as I said, works through a database. So we have the flood asset module. This is where we contain information on your assets, drains, culverts. It's a editable system, so you can choose the names that you wish to store, yeah, that's basically your asset registry. But it's where you can schedule your inspections and your maintenance, and update the quality of those assets. But also you can store photos, all attached information, obviously contacts and correspondent emails, etc., from that module. There's also the case module, so you can manage your workflows effectively, whether it's your planning application workflows or your in-house workflows that need to be completed by a team, I guess, and that can be overseen by a manager. And then finally, there's, as I mentioned, the MapEagle. So this is the GIS report writing tool to allow you to produce your automated customizable reports. So that's generally a kind of overview of the key modules that our clients use to manage everything from the reactive to the proactive side of flood risk management. But we see the kind of the system as a prioritization process. So to begin your asset registry, the system works by logging an asset and then regularly updating that that asset through a prioritization process. So it allows you to effectively work out which asset is of priority, whether that's inspection or updating or maintenance, and then that information can be used to feed back. So I think that's quite sort of demonstrated here. You identify your areas of risk through the mapping, so that can be, you can interrogate your GIS layers to work out where you want to prioritize inspections, identify your assets, maybe some hazards and consequence potential, and then schedule inspections from there once you've identified those significant assets that are at risk, and then that can feed back in, and the system allows you to manage that in a very effective way to make sure you don't miss assets or whilst keeping a diary, etc. So if I just I'll just get the system up now if we exit that. Okay, so if we close that one, so this is the look of the system. This is the asset module, as I said, the flood risk asset module, and as I've said, it's a database system, and the face we see here is accessing that database into a much more clean and easy to use method than potentially an Excel spreadsheet. Now we can see obviously there's the ID for an asset and its name, so that name might be related to the address that it's at or the street or the river perhaps that it's connected to, and then we have the site type, so that's a customizable thing. So in this case, I have an asset open here, and it's a drain, but obviously you can select a range of sites: culvert, drain, ditch, and all these asset types, site types, sorry, are fully customizable going into the database system. So you can select your asset type. So actually, I may have got that wrong. So maybe it's inlet grill, say. So this top pane here is the key information about that site with its assets. Obviously, the usual street postcode, and the name, maybe a general location that you can choose. So the face of the system is set up to allow you to access from this one screen all the information that you might like to know about that site or asset. So there are options for attaching emails, photos. You can go to the diary quite easily over here. You can link to the GIS, which we'll go into shortly, and you can also use this module, so the flood risk flood asset module, and you can use it to retrieve other information. So I might want to find an asset. Bear with me while that loads. I might want to find something in the database. You can see there's a fair few records there, and obviously you can search for them. That's a manhole, and I'll bring that up there. So yeah, so it's a data retrieval as well as a storage. Okay, so that might be the site, and on the pane below, it's the assets tab. So this is where you log the information about your assets through predominantly the asset type. Note that the tabs with the star are obviously mandatory fields. So this is assets and manhole, but we may wish, again, like I said, to change that to a culvert, perhaps. And then obviously you've got your related information below about the characteristics of that asset. Obviously things like ownership and the dimensions, but also state of repair. It might be in adequate condition, but it's also editable. So adequate to poor, perhaps. You might want to put that. And any comments. So it's a really user-friendly interface there that allows you to regularly update the information about that asset. Yes, so as I said, there's opportunities to attach any associated information about that asset, through other perhaps other information. You can add comments, but also the key thing is the inspections tab. So we can generate some a list of inspections to be carried out by maybe your subcontractor or yourselves, and that can be easily managed through the workflow diary. So I'll show you that workflow diary through the calendar. So generally, when you open the system, you come to the start page, and it allows you to get an overview of your all the cases or tasks or inspections that are scheduled for your particular officers. So if I, for example, take you to the active cases, there might be, these are obviously very out of date, but yeah, this is where you can get a good overview of what cases are happening, and for managers, but also you can see yeah, your case types, perhaps flood incident, water company issue. There's none there, but you can choose what your case you'd like to check on. Obviously, the local authorities who use the system have quite an extensive list, a bit more than 8 there, but you can also see, you know, what case officer is assigned to that, you know, through the initials, who's got what workflow going, and also obviously, unfortunately, I haven't got any inspections, but if we take that on there, so these are the programmed inspections, as I mentioned. So you can use this to see what inspections are planned for the next, well, you know, up to 2023. So many years of inspections there, but and then you can actually retrieve those inspections by double-clicking, and we'll take you back to the Inspections tab. So if I go back to the Inspections tab here, we can generate an inspection type. Perhaps it's a planned inspection, and I've got that on a period of a monthly period, and that the care of might be myself, Patrick West. Oh, I'm not the registered user on this machine, so it might have to be STM. In fact, there we are. And then you can obviously see when that you can schedule an inspection for a particular date or in a period, and then you can tell it when the date was executed. So today, who it's done by, and a potential case reference, and any notes you want to put about that inspection. So there is a option for, apologies, must be executed. Bear with me. Okay. Yeah. So okay, and then obviously we can schedule any comments for that inspection that was carried out by the relevant officer. So if we go back to the Assets tab here, so this is for the particular asset named above. What the system allows you to do is to obviously retrieve all the key information about that asset in an easy to digest format, but also allows you to move between the asset and the GIS integration. So I'll just take you to ArcGIS here. This is what we're using, but as I said, we support other GIS systems. I've got a region of I think this is North Wales, somewhere Conus Key, so it's near the River Dee. We can use the GeoEnviron extensions tool, and we can migrate back to the database, so we can bring up the records maybe about a particular site. So this is the typical GIS window. We've got our street, and I've just drawn out some gullies here. These aren't real. This is something I've just done to test. So we can click on the site, and the way the extension works is it actually pops up that record and tells us some initial information about that site that we might want to know. So the ID numbers, the site type, address, etc., the structure, ownership, all the attributes that you would like to know about that asset. And then if we tick the lookup tool, it will take us back to that asset within the database. So this is the way in which you can seamlessly move between a GIS system and your database system. So it's incredibly useful if you're scheduling inspections along a set of assets in an area, and it also allows you to do the reverse process. So actually we can go back from the database into the GIS, and it will center the GIS, zoom to there, and it will take you back to that exact location of the asset that's in question. So the extension allows you to add a range of assets if it's a point, a link, or a polygon asset perhaps. But generally in the flood assets there'll be points, and these are customizable. You can obviously name them as you wish, and they can be asset types for your description. As I said, drains, gullies, ditches, etc. So the system allows you to draw your new asset features on your mapping, and then record those instantly into the database. So I'll just take you through that. For example, don't want to use a drain wizard. We've got a flood asset, it's a point, and perhaps we might want to add a culvert down here, for example. That then brings up the link. So we can either retrieve a record perhaps that we have in a database but that hasn't been mapped. So for example, if you've got a lot of data in other formats and you've imported it, and then you would like to retrieve the spatial, link the spatial information to the database, we can go on the retrieve option, and that would obviously populate all the gullies that weren't there. But as I said, say we wanted to do a culvert, we'd select culvert. There's currently no data in the database which hasn't been spatially linked, but we can obviously create a new culvert there. So if we click create new, we are creating. It takes us back to the database, and we're creating a new asset type within that database. So if we go back up to culvert, there it is. We can assign an ID, which you can obviously set as a default if you're adding a number of them. As I said, by clicking the default, if you're doing many at the same time, and we can give it the name. We'll copy the name as the site ID. So we go OK there, and we've just recorded a new culvert there. This option here is if you're adding a number of gullies, as you can see on the map here, in succession. You can link those gullies through using link lines, and they all get stored in the database. So that takes us back there to the database where we've now stored our gully on our map. Now you could be adding that gully to your database and spatially adding it, as we see there, to then schedule an inspection. So we can then, as I showed before, schedule an inspection for that particular asset. But we also might want to update the information. As I said before, it might be publicly owned, and there may be a state of repair for that asset, and perhaps some comments that we'd like to make. Perhaps whatever you would like in this comment section here, and then update that information. And so if we then go back to the GIS, we can interrogate that new asset that we've made, and it pops up on the extension there, on the info tool. Again, tells us the necessary attributes about that asset, and similarly, just to stress the point, we can go back to the database and edit any information that we might like to see there. Good, and I've also got another option here for perhaps a SUDS application. Maybe you have, for your planning side of the work, you might wish to update, as I said, a new SUDS point. So we can add a location here. There's one there, but we might have if we zoom in a little bit, we might have a SUDS application for a site. It might be in this area here, and we can designate that as a science planning application, and then if we can also have the option to create an advanced asset, which we can add additional information, so we can go create new, and that brings up another table where we can add site name. Maybe it's number 24 High Street, perhaps is the name you might want, a location, whatever the town is, central, and then obviously the related ID, so a sustainable drainage application. So that's now recorded in our database as a new SUDS planning application, and this is taking us now to the case management system, as it's a case management through the planning application, and then from the case management tab we can assign all the relevant information that we might want to put about that application there. So what officer is doing it, so it's STM environmental, the case type, there's a long list there, but sustainable drainage applications, the case type, and case reference might be, for example, in our private work, we might put the case reference as the architect or the developer. So that might be, let's put it as my name, and then we can update that information. Case subject, is that missing? Okay, sorry, that one there, and then we can update the case reference to something like that, and then it updates the case subject there. So so yeah, it's an incredibly useful way of migrating between your GIS and your database, updating new information straight into the database, but also simultaneously doing that on your visual inspections. Yes, so I think I've gone over the adding information from the GIS into the database. Just to stress the point, we might want to make a new case. Yeah. So we might want to add a new asset type, perhaps. So we call this, apologies, that's the wrong one. So we might, as I said, we might want to add a new asset that we've got on a record somewhere. For example, we might call this, we'll keep with the culvert idea. It's a culvert, it's got a name, or perhaps we'll call it, the name is the same as the ID, so call that a culvert there. Okay, the name is not particularly important, but it obviously depends on how you want to use the system. So we'll call it, for the purposes, culvert 1, and that has now been updated into the system. So we've got a culvert there that we know we want to record somewhere. So we can now go back into the GIS, and we want to link that culvert to the location in the mapping. So we can obviously, whilst knowing where it is, perhaps you're doing this on the mobile application. So as I said, you can access all this information on the mobile device, and we might want to add a culvert. That's fine. So yeah, obviously it wouldn't necessarily be there, but we might have an operative on site, or someone knows exactly where that asset is, and we've got a culvert, and we can see there that the culvert I just made, culvert 1, has been retrieved as an asset that hasn't got a spatial reference. So we can actually link that selection there, and we link it. We don't want to update in that respect, so it then takes us back to the database. It's been linked. We now have to add an asset type, because we added the site. It's still a culvert. Copy that ID from the ID up there, and we should see that it has some other information, as now has some GIS coordinates associated with that new asset. So obviously always updating the records there. So it's a really useful tool for migrating from the database to the GIS and vice versa. So I use the SUDS application tool to talk about some of the case management side. So obviously the asset module is primarily used for your reactive or proactive side of the business of your work to assign inspections and to update your records of all your drainage and flood assets that you might have. The case management module, however, can be used for your reactive side of the work. As I showed, we had a SUDS application, so we can have a land drain application, and obviously all these site type codes are totally customizable. So we can double click there and we can add a new option to the site type. So if we go back to that one there, and this can be used to manage your workflows for your planning application side of things, and then all this information that you're managing can be displayed in the calendar. So we've got the inspections there, but if we go back to active cases, we might have a case here. If you remember, I did the SUDS application, and we can see on this line here that there's a SUDS application that might have an expiry date. It expires in February there, and the case is active. The case officer, well, the reference is, I've got it down as my name, but that would be maybe the name that you have for the client or the developer, whoever submitted the application, and any associated comments that you might want for that. So you can visualize that case management side of things very easily through the active cases, and then we can double click and it will migrate back to that case. And simultaneously, I don't know if you saw, but the mapping also centers itself on that case. So you can visualize your planning applications, double clicking and opening those straight into the GIS if you want to visualize that. And obviously we want to know that information because someone might have an application and there may well be some attributes that you would like to know about that site. So yeah, you have a SUDS application and you might want to know, okay, what's the this is some layers from BGS, but there might be a SUDS potential, and we can see that application is in an area with very significant constraints. So straight away you've logged a planning application for some SUDS requirement, and you can go straight to the GIS and see that your initial concerns about that site might be that it's in an area where you wouldn't like some infiltration to occur. So very effective way of getting some good information quickly about an area. Obviously, if you've got lots of information that you need to know, maybe you want to know not just obviously for SUDS, but for all application types of extensions, new developments. There's a range of GeoEnvironmental information that we need to know about that site, flood zones and flood risk, defences, etc. And so you can see on the GIS pane here, I've got a range of the layers that you will all have available. These are actually site in Wales, so this is all through Natural Resources Wales, and we can see all the sort of the usual GIS layers that you might want to use to inspect that site. The system that we have also provides a report writing tool to interrogate the GeoEnvironmental characteristics of that area associated with your new site. So as I showed there, we interrogated that one layer to look at the SUDS. But if you've got multiple layers and you want to produce a report, whether that's for an in-house report or report to feedback to the applicant or potentially paying clients, then it's clearly going to be time consuming to interrogate each of those layers in turn, whether it's the flood zones. So we've got this site I made here is just out of our flood zones, but to interrogate that information, say the overall flood risk, that one might take a little bit longer to load. It's going to be very time consuming to sit here and inspect each layer in turn. So the MapEagle report writer, so we can see layers loaded there. So that process for each site that you might have, whether that's, as I said, an application or perhaps an asset, and you'd like to know in terms of prioritization what's the risk to that asset or site. We have a report writing tool called MapEagle. So if I just close that one down there, this is actually still the same area. So the report writing tool, as I said, allows you to automatically interrogate the geoenvironmental layers. In fact, any layers that you might have in the GIS to tell you the information about that site very effectively. And this tool is obviously customizable and allows you to choose what layers you interrogate. Maybe you just want to look at what flood zones it's in. Maybe you like to look at some of the ground conditions or geological data. But also you can look at, as we can see here, defences, overall risk, what is it in a flood warning area, etc. So whatever layers you might have, and that report tool will output a report that you can customize using a template, and you can set up all the mapping, etc. So I'll do an example of that now. This is a previous site. So imagine, for example, someone's got a planning application for a new house around this square. We can do a buffer search of that area, and the tool works by searching within a defined buffer that we can obviously set. So this one, say for example, is 50 meters, but you might want to do a closer radius, or perhaps maybe much larger. Perhaps there's a 100-meter radius, and it will then search within that buffer for what attributes are within that locality, and then output that in a report. So I'll just go through the search process. So as I said, we can search maybe from a recorded site, a polygon, or a point that we might want to search within. So we won't use that search. We can draw another one. Actually there's a polygon here, so we'll trace that polygon that I've drawn there, and this might be a potential planning application for a development. As you can see here, it happens to be just on the edge of flood zone 2 and 3, so it's double click. It might be a bit unsure about what information is associated with that point. So that will now pop up if we just have to wait for that to load. So some of my layers are web mapping services, so the process can be a little bit slow on this machine. But so yeah, I've drawn a polygon that it's now going to search within. So it's going to perform a buffer search. You see it zooms onto that polygon. Obviously we might want to draw that a bit more accurately, and we're going to do a buffer search of what layers that we have stored are associated within our buffer region. As I said, you can choose which layers you want it to search for, and which attributes you would like it to retrieve. So we'll perform a buffer search now, and that will go through the layers on our table of contents on the left, and output how many of those features it's found within that 50-meter buffer. Now obviously, as I said, you can customize what layers you wanted to find. You might want to just know whether it's in flood zone 2 or 3, but you also might want to know the other geoenvironmental information. Maybe it's near other assets that you might have, and you can obviously record those assets using the database system. But the report writer also allows you to search for a particular case. You might have a case management for a particular site, and it performs the same options. But also, you might use this for your assets. You might want to know what information is associated with that asset. So as opposed to drawing a polygon for a site, you would click on that asset and you'd search. So you can see the buffer wizard is now searching through those layers. It's gone through, I think I had it set on the flood zones, the overall risk indicator, and maybe some recorded flood outlines. And it's going to produce a small output report that will pop up now, just telling me how many features it's found within that 50-meter buffer, that can then be used to quite quickly confirm the information. So what constraints you might you might have that you want to feed back to the applicant, or maybe back to your engineers about that information for that site. So if we just let that pop up now. Here we go. So within the 50-metre buffer, you found 25 features. So yeah, it's within flood zone 1, was within 50 metres of flood zone 2. There's an overall flood risk, and it's also looked at the surface water extent of flooding as well. So it's told you the information about that site quite easily without having to go through every layer and interrogate those layers. And then if we wish, we can also generate a report. Now obviously if you've got many layers that you'd like to interrogate, that list is going to be a lot longer. So you can generate a summary report of that information, which is obviously customizable, and it will give you a map, and it will then provide you with a summary table of what layers you have, and you might use that as an initial feedback to do your prioritization, as I said, whether it's for a planning application or management of your assets. We won't do that now because, as I said, we've got some web mapping layers, and that will be a bit slow, so we'll stop that one. Great, so I think we'll just close that one back down, go back to the presentation. So I've tried to give you a bit of an overview of the asset module side of things, and the case management side, so for your essentially applications or other cases, and also the link to the GIS and the Map Eagle search tool, where you can interrogate the layers that you might have. So I just want to kind of bring you back to the potential benefits of having this, using the risk management system. Obviously, it allows you to maintain a registry of your defence assets, as well as your point assets. So we saw we can draw polylines or points in the GIS, and then link that back to records that have been created, or perhaps we want to make new records into our database system, and then from there we can use the spatial information on our GIS to identify potential constraints about that site, through the search tool with the buffer, or we can then prioritize what areas we want to focus resources or time, and then assign our inspections to that site. The registry obviously allows you to manage your planning and workflows, both through the inspection assignments, but also the case management side for your planning applications. And there's also the ability to investigate your flood incidents. So you might have your recorded flood outline on your GIS, and you can then assign sites or assets within the GIS where you would like to go and inspect that. There's also the idea of being able to record SUDs for new developments or drainage consents, and so all these site types or case types are fully customizable in the system depending on what requirements you have, and you can use the integration with the GIS to seamlessly inspect those, or from the desk, or assign the inspections so that your field teams can go and find those easily. And then obviously with the mobile tool, we can update information about those assets straight back into the database from site. So I think the STM, the flood risk management system that we have, gives you the opportunity to centralize your assets that you have, and all information, all data that you have existing, whether it's on Excel spreadsheets or even paper, and allows you to efficiently and quickly move between, as we've seen, the GIS layers, but also manage your cases and inspection prioritizations within a team. So it's primarily used for the case management side of, or the case assignments for assets. It's very customizable in what information you would like to see. So all the fields that we saw, whether asset types or case types, they can all be customizable depending on your particular requirements within your organization. That's clearly that allows you to delve into different complexities. So some people might use it for quite simple visualization. Others might want to use it for quite complex or into in-depth storage of information. So that it's really kind of useful for all, to tailor to all types of users really. It's also obviously secure and normally obviously hosted on your servers yourselves. There's the benefit of the mobile device linking back to your records, so for your site and field work as well. I think it's been about 50 minutes now, so I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you for attending. It was a bit of a quick guide through the system. As we've got the case management, the asset management, and the mapping side of things. I think we might have 10 minutes for some questions. If you want to drop me a question, I've got 10 minutes now. In fact, I could even do a poll here. Just to see. Yeah, so I'm just going to launch a quick poll to see if we just to find out sort of what registry your local authority is using. If you have a registry, would be good to know. And if you could answer that quick poll, I think it should be down on the system. So you've great. So we've got some responses for what authorities are using a registry. So it's good to know that some people have actually got an asset registry. Some of you have said that you haven't actually got an asset registry. Now it'd be good to know. Maybe you're using Excel or other systems. So maybe you could tell us, if I launch this next poll, what you're currently using to manage your assets. Answer that one there. Okay, so we've got some responses there for sort of mixed responses. Some people are using obviously GIS or ArcMap or MapInfo, and then we've got sort of a number of people who are using Excel spreadsheets. So clearly, what I've tried to show is that the system allows you to manage that information in your database and through your GIS as well. And we've got some others as well there. So what's also interesting, obviously we talked about your asset registry, but also I've put another poll here just to know how you might manage your workflows in terms of your planning applications, so your planning and enforcement workflows. Is that a sort of bespoke in-house method, or is that managed through folders or other sorts of spreadsheets? So I've launched another little poll there. It might be useful to see. And then, as I said, if you want more information, we've got our email on the up there, info@stmenvironmental. You can also email me. It's Patrick@stmenvironmental. Or call us and we can discuss how we can use your manage your system. So the majority of responses at the moment are saying that they're using Excel to manage their workflows. and obviously, having spoken to a number of authorities, that's obviously suits them. But there's always opportunities for mistakes when using things like Excel. So hopefully, I've shown that the case management system allows you to really effectively manage your workflows in that respect. So and obviously see that in the GIS as well. Okay, I think we'll wrap it up there because it's approaching 12 o'clock. You might have other meetings to attend to. Oh, sorry. We have just a question about the about a trial version. Unfortunately, we don't do a trial version. Mainly because it's particularly complicated to set up, but what we can do is we can come and demonstrate the software to you guys. So if you'd like to have a demonstration from myself or a colleague, we'll obviously we can come and show you that with some sort of demo databases and demo GIS, and obviously show the rest of your teams if you've got other colleagues who'd like to see the system. So there's certainly scope for that, and also, you know, the polls will show there that a lot of people are using Excel sheets or other sort of in-house systems. I think the key here is that a lot of the administration of that data can be done by us. So don't fear that we can't convert your information into our database. That's something that we can do here. So that won't be a problem at all. But as I said, we can come and give you a demonstration. And if you'd like any more information, there's the email address on the PowerPoint, info@stmenvironmental.co.uk, or give us a call. And I said my name was Patrick, so you can ask for me as well. Okay, thank you for attending. We hope to have another webinar in a couple of weeks, probably going over the MapEagle report writing tool in a bit more detail to show how you can generate your automated customizable reports. But we'll be sending out an email about that shortly, and that should probably be in a couple of weeks. So hopefully you'll attend that one for some more information. Great. Many thanks for attending, and have a good day.